Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to play with, let's move this out of the way really quick, our leftover paper pumpkins. So the paper pumpkin for January came with this stamp set, if you remember, this Stampin' Spot, and it came with a bunch of stuff. We already made the cards in a previous video, so I've just set aside the leftovers that I had from that. I had two of these left over, two of these labels, two of these little labels right here left over, and two of these. So I also had some glue dots and some dimensionals left over. So today what I want to do is see what we can do. I have samples made, but I'm going to show you what I came up with so that you can use up the rest of what you have using your stamp set from the paper pumpkin and your ink pad. And I have 3 different card designs for you today. So I'm just going to move this aside here. I have all my stamps on blocks so that I can stamp with them. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me grab some card bases. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do for this first design is I'm going to grab out my scoreboard, and I'm doing a different sort of, I'm just self-embossing without an embossing folder. So I'm going to go over to the 1/2 inch line with the long side down this way and the short side across. So you're going to go to 4 inches. This is 4 by 5 1/4, just a standard card front. Okay, so we're going to go, let's see if I can just zoom in a little bit closer here. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my 1/2 inch mark right here, and I'm just going to score. And then from that 1/2 inch, I'm going to move over 1 more, and I'm going to score this way. I'm going to turn my card, do the same thing at the 1/2 inch, and then move 1 over and do 1/2 inch. And we're going to do this on all sides. So 1/2 inch, move it 1 over and do another score there, and then the final side 1/2 inch, and there we go. Now I've scored on this side with it down here, but I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use this side so that these edges are raised, and that's, I think, a really pretty pattern. So I'm going to put this scoreboard away now. I won't need it anymore, and I'm going to bring in this here so we can stamp. Set up my sample. All right, I have also got a piece, I'm going to lift you back up. I also have a piece of Gorgeous Grape. The Stampin' Spot that came in the pack is Gorgeous Grape, so I'm going to use a Gorgeous Grape card base. And this is 11 by 4 1/4, and it's scored at the 5 1/2 inch mark. Okay. Now you can do either side. You can do the raised embossed edges or the ones that are down, but I'm going to use the raised. With this stamp here, we're going to take the stamp and what I'm going to do is open my Stampin' Spot. And I am going to ink up my leaf pattern, this pattern here, right here, that leaf. It's the only image that's in this kit. So I'm going to ink this up. Get it nice and inked. Then I'm going to kind of flip this around, and in the long corner here, I'm going to face this stamp. I'm going to get it down in that corner, and I'm going to kind of get it towards the center. here and just put that down. Then we're going to move over a little bit and use the second generation. Move over a little bit on the other side and use the third generation. So we have that there. I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to do the same thing in this corner right here. All right, so now I'm going to go right here and I'm going to kind of point it so that my stems will go right there in that center part. And then I'm going to go over here with the second generation and go over here with the third generation. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm done stamping. So this is our card design that we have right now. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to clean off my stamp really quick. Okay, we're going to clean that off, dry it. Okay, that's cleaned off. Now, I'm going to take this label that I had left over, and we're going to stamp the sentiment here that says just a little something for you. So I am going to bring in my ink just to give us a different color on the card, my Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm going to ink this up. And then I'm just going to stamp this onto the sentiment strip. Okay, that's all we need for this card. And now we can assemble it. It's just a very simple card. Okay, move that out of the way. Now we're going to take our card base. I'm going to take this sentiment strip and I'm going to use some of my dimensionals on it. Okay, I've got those on. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this card base to this cardstock. Now you could put this on white too. I was just having fun with color, thinking, you know, that'd be really pretty just to use the same colored cardstock that the ink came with. Kind of center this on the card. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pop up my dimensional or my sentiment strip right here in the center. Just like that. And there's one simple, very pretty card. It would go beautiful with a gift for somebody. And you could stamp, I'm not going to do the inside of the cards, but you could stamp the Happy Valentine's Day if you wanted to, or something else inside the card and give that with a gift. So there's one sample. Here is the first one I made. The exact same way. Okay. So our next card, this aside. My next card is also going to be on Gorgeous Grape cardstock. So we're going to take this and we're just going to do very simple design. So we're going to take this leaf pattern again, and we're primarily playing with the leaf pattern or sprig or whatever you want to call it. Get the lid off of my Stampin' Spot. Then I'm going to go ahead and ink this up again in the Gorgeous Grape. Then I'm going to stamp it kind of up towards the 2/3 of the card, kind of in the center. And I'm just going to get that laid down. Let that ink, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the second and the third generation, trying to keep the stem of this lined up with the cards. So there we have that design. Now I'm going to, that's all the stamping I'm going to do on that. Now I'm going to take this sentiment strip, and I'm using the little one for this card right here. I'm going to take the word with that came in the stamp set, get my black ink, ink that up, and stamp the sentiment strip. Okay. Clean that one off later. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is line this up. First, I'm going to grab, I have this like off-white cream colored thread, I guess you could call it, twine. I'm going to tie a little bow. This is just something I had from my stash. It's a neutral, so I thought it would go really well with this, the colors. And so I'm just going to get this bow ready. Make it a little bit smaller, tighten it, and then pull this down a little bit more. Okay, I think that looks really good. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my scissors, and I'm just going to cut it. I'll probably right about there. Now I'm going to take one of these glue dots that were in the kit. Oh, I better put my lid on the ink. And then I'm going to attach this to the back of my bow. And it will be bigger than your bow. You are going to have to press on it to make the glue dot stick. So because it's bigger, the glue is bigger than your bow, you're just going to use your fingers and kind of get that up behind the bow. So I'm going to set that aside with the glue dot facing up. We have our width. I'm going to put a glue dot on this side here, on the side of the W. Just going to use one. Now what I want to do here is I want to kind of place this where I think I want the love, but I'm going to kind of put this on the stem like there and see where I want this word, and I think I have a good idea of where I want that. So I'm going to move that aside. And then I'm going to just flip this over and get ink all over this word love. Now you can certainly play with other colors. I'm just doing this to show you what you can do with your leftover pieces from your paper pumpkin. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that down. There we go. Now we're going to take our glue dot, or our word with, and I'm going to remove the glue dot. Oh, no, don't do that yet. Let's glue this to the card base. It'll be easier with a flat piece. So we're going to go ahead and get some glue on here. Often the paper pumpkin, when you get done making the project, usually cards, but sometimes there's other projects that you do, you end up with extra pieces. So I'm going to kind of put this so that it's kind of facing down, just to look like a tag hanging off. Then I'm going to take this little bow, and I'm just going to kind of put it right there, like it's over the plant and through that little sentiment strip there. Let's see if I can get this string to cooperate with me. And honestly, I'm okay if it doesn't. That's okay. All right, so here is this card. Very simple stamped card. Here is my sample. And I think those are super cute. Okay, now this next card is a bit more involved. I'm bringing in an embossing folder. This is a Softly Sophisticated embossing folder, and I believe this is part of the, let me see, Softly, yeah, this is a celebration set that you can get currently. So I have that we're going to use, and I also brought in my bow punch because we're going to add another color, and we're going to add a sprig. So for this one, I am going to also be using a blending brush along with my stamp. So set that aside. And then I have some strips of gems that I just pulled out of my stash that I'm going to use as well. So you can use whatever gems you want. Here's my bow pieces. Let's set these over here so I can get them easier. Okay, so what we're going to do now is get this ink pad, and we're going to use our last sentiment strip on this. Is we're going to take our leaf pattern, and first we're going to hit the corners, all four corners of this paper, this panel. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit it right here, and we're going to use 3 generations. There's the second, and there's the third, and I'm fanning them out more just to give it more coverage. And I'm going to turn it so I can do this one. Okay, do that at an angle, do that this way. I love the way this card turned out. I think it turned out so pretty. It is busy, but it's pretty. Okay, and the fourth one. Now we're going to do more stamping. So I'm going to come here on the side right here. I'm going to ink it up. I don't have to ink up the whole stamp. I'm just going to use about half of it. And I am going to do only the second generation right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, except I'm going to use the opposite side so that the branches are facing the same direction as the ones opposite it. Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to hit these 2 spots right here, and I'm going to just use the tip of this stamp. And I am going to use 3 on this one just to give it more, just to fill it more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's everything that I'm going to stamp on this panel. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover my purple for the moment. I'm going to grab my Happy Valentine's Day and my sentiment strip that I had left over, my last one, and my black ink, and get that inked up and get the sentiment stamped. There we go. And I'm done with the black ink. This is our final card. Now I'm going to take my blending brush. I'm going to get a little bit of ink, and I'm not really caring if I'm getting messy around here. I'm just going to go around the sides and just kind of get some of that purple in there. Some dark edges, some light edges, just to kind of have some fun with it. Okay. Get a little bit more right there. So there, that I have colored. I'm going to set that aside for now, and we're going to work on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, but I'm going to go lightly, so I just get a little bit of a soft purple color. And since there's still ink on the brush, I can kind of go lightly and get the ink on, and if I feel like it's getting low on ink, I can push a little bit and get more ink. I don't want really any of the rough colored edges. I'm going to keep inking, but I'm going to brush off a little bit so I'm not getting any harshness on here, and just lightly brushing to kind of go over this whole area where the foliage is. I'm going to kind of leave the center white. Go up the leaves. what I'm kind of trying to do is get some of this color where the leaves are. And as I'm getting low on ink, I just push on it a little bit harder. I want a little bit more right here, so I'm going to go lightly. There's some purple right there. And when you're happy with what you have, I want a little bit more down here. Then we're done with that part of it. So I'm going to put this down. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss this piece with my Softly Sophisticated embossing folder. Line this up. There we go. Move this aside and bring in my cut and emboss machine. Let's see if I can pull you back while I'm doing that. When you're embossing, you only need 2 plates. You need the main plate and the gray plate. That's plate 4. So put that in. Now I put my hand on the plate just to keep it from bouncing too hard back, so it's not so noisy on camera. So I'm going to close that up and put that away. Isn't that beautiful? So pretty. Okay, so we've got the embossing done. Now I'm going to use a white card base for this because I've colored around purple just for my own style. I like it on the white. So let's bring this back over. Let's move that aside. So now I'm just going to glue this onto my white card base. With embossing, you do want to make sure you get good coverage with your glue so that it sticks, since it's not a flat surface any longer. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now that is done. Now we're going to work on the sentiment strip right here. And what I did is I used the glue dots that came in the back, or came in the kit, and I'm putting several back here, kind of in the center or wherever your foliage is going to be, or your sprig or your spray, whatever you want to call it. I just putting them randomly here so that they'll help grab the spray when I set them. Okay, that's probably good. Grab my here it is. Switch this out and just kind of get the release papers removed off of here. These little pieces are staticky when you get them off too. It is very cold here. It was 47 below here today. I think it warmed up to 38 below, but it's dropping back down again. So it's pretty chilly and it's dry, so everything wants to stick. Okay, so now that I have these here, I'm going to bring in, I punched the bow punch twice, so I've got 2 small and 2 bigger ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim off the ends here, just to make it so it's not so long and I don't risk it poking out the ends. So I'm just going to cut those down a little bit on all 4 pieces. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to kind of center this, and I want one leaf kind of hanging over it. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. I'm going to try to match the direction of that branch. Then I'm going to take one of these and I'm just going to kind of pop it up in front, but then and do the same thing on this side. We kind of pop it in front of that big one. There we go. So there's our spray. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to use the dimensionals that came in the kit. Now, between the 6 cards total I will have ended up making, I will have used all of my dimensionals except the edges. And the edges can still be used. You just cut them to the size you need and put them on there. Okay, I'll bring in this card, move that out of my way. Now I'm going to go ahead and release the paper, or remove the release papers. And I'm just going to center this on my card. If you lay it lightly, you'll be able to reposition it again. I like where it's at, so that's it. Now, the only thing left that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these really sparkly clear gems on here. I'm going to add a little one on each end of this here. There's that. And then I'm going to do a big one up here in this area. Maybe I'll put that one right there. Or this little one. Put that right there. And I'm doing it in a triangle. I'm not paying attention to these, but I'm doing that in a triangle here. And I'm just going to drop that one right there. And there, if you can see the sparkle on the card, there's our finished card. So we have made 3 cards. Oh, here's my sample. I used some different sequiny things that I have left over from a previous paper pumpkin. So I have made 6 cards with the leftovers, sentiment strip, glue dots, dimensionals, and our ink, and we still have the ink and stamp set to play with for future. So I think these cards turned out so nice, and they're so simple. Thank you for watching, and I hope you give it a try, or I hope this inspires you to play with the leftover pieces, your stamp set, your ink, and come up with some other designs of your own. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.